From the PSIA-AASI satellite studios in Corvallis, Oregon, I'm George Thomas. You're listening to First Chair, and very excited to be talking with new PSIA-AASI CEO Jeff Lifgren. Jeff, welcome to the show. Thank you for making time to chat.
Oh, George, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So, lots of things to talk with you about. I'm seeing like a 12-part interview here, Jeff, one a month.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I'm up for it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
That would actually be great. But would just really like to start kind of getting to know you and your background, and then what led you to actually applying for the job of CEO. So, what region are you associated with, or were you associated with before taking this position?
Yeah, I started actually at Breckenridge in Colorado and was a Rocky Mountain member. I've been a member for over 25 years now of Rocky Mountain and National. I've been almost my entire career either in Rocky or I spent some time in Park City in Intermountain, and then most recently was in Pennsylvania as when I was working for Vail Resorts there. So I've been around the country a little bit, worked at some destination ski resorts, Breckenridge, Keystone, Park City, and then in the Mid-Atlantic at some smaller resorts all across the Mid-Atlantic. So I've moved around quite a bit.
I love that you have some small resorts in your background. I think that gives you such a good blend of what it's like working at a day resort as opposed to one where people are going for a week. I think that
Yeah,
gives you a real different outlook on instruction as a whole.
yeah, absolutely. I do think that it's an advantage for me to have seen the different types of resorts, starting at some place like Breckenridge, which is one of the biggest, busiest resorts in the country, and then being the general manager of a resort like Liberty Mountain in South Central Pennsylvania, and really seeing the difference in the type of guest that comes there and how long they stay, what their expectations are, what their behavior patterns are, is very different from someplace like Breckenridge. And so it was eye-opening to me to go to the Mid-Atlantic and really be able to see, hey, Thursday nights when it's pouring rain, like those buses still show up, and a couple hundred kids pour into the resort, and they love every single second of it, even though maybe the conditions aren't what you want them to be. They love it, and they're there to have a great time.
Well, you're used to having a family for private for a week at Breckenridge, and then you go to a day area and you're looking at hour-long privates.
Yeah, totally. It's a completely different type of experience for the guest. And I would say it's a completely different type of experience in trying to build your lesson structure for those instructors and trying to figure out like what can I actually accomplish in an hour or two. I don't have all day to spend with these guests, and I can't sort of meter out the things that I want to do throughout the day. Like I need to get something accomplished, and what's that going to be, and really have a primary focus for that hour or two that they have. And I think it's a slightly different skill set.
Now, you also use different tools to slide on snow, not just skis.
Yeah, for sure. I'm up for sliding around on just about anything out there. I am a certified snowboard instructor. I have my level one. I did that years ago because I believed that it made me more valuable to my guests and certainly to the resort that I was working at if I could teach a ski lesson in the morning, say, and then a snowboard lesson in the afternoon, or if a family came and they wanted a private lesson and they had mixed disciplines inside of their family, skiing and snowboarding, then I could do both of those things. I thought that was super valuable. And so I made it a point to make sure that I had both of those certifications as soon as I could in my career.
I love that we're talking about this. The last 2 weekends, I did some trainings, and I really like training with interdiscipline. I really like to have snowboards and skiers out together because we learn so much from each other. And yeah, MA opportunities. Maybe I don't know a thing about snowboarding, but I can still do MA with someone on a board and someone who is snowboarding that maybe doesn't know anything about skiing. We can learn so much on how to give good MA by observing a sport that we don't really know. It's not our first.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. As much as we like to think that skiers and snowboarders are so very different, I think in essence, what we're all the same. We love sliding around on snow. We love being outdoors. We love interacting with other folks. And when you think about movement analysis, we're always trying to find what is the most efficient way for a person to accomplish whatever task they're trying to accomplish, and how do we communicate that to them so that they understand. And so I really do think that we're so much more similar than we would like to believe. And those skills do transfer for sure.
Now, what all certifications do you have? And you're on education teams and development as well, correct?
No, I'm not on any ed staffs. Dana Forbes from Rocky Mountain, she gives me a hard time about that. But I did get my
Why am I
Alpine
not
ride.
surprised?
Yeah, yeah. And I appreciate the feedback from Dana for sure. I did get my Alpine Rocky Mountain trainer years ago, a snowboard level 1, children's specialist 2, and freestyle 1. So I tried to do about as much as I could, and uh, really try to just broaden my perspective on all of the ways that we could slide around. I can telemark, but I would say nobody would really want to see that. So
So, what was it that led you to apply to be the CEO of PSIA-AASI, and what do you feel you bring to the organization?
yeah, I think that the thing that was most appealing to me about this role was my final role inside of Vail Resorts had sort of two different tracks that I was working on. One was the vice president of the Mid-Atlantic region, where I oversaw the 8 ski resorts that Vail owned in Pennsylvania and all of the operations that went into those top to bottom. The second responsibility that I had inside of Vail Resorts was I was the executive sponsor of the Ski and Snowboard School Best Practice Group. And what that entailed was making sure that all of the ski and snowboard schools had the tools, the knowledge, the skills, and the resources that they needed to be able to deliver the guest experience for everybody that was coming to the resorts. So at that time, there were about 40 ski schools. And so myself and Greg Willis from Vail Mountain proper, were leading that group and really had oversight of product development and pricing and scheduling and staffing and all of the strategic developments that we were trying to implement inside of Vail. And so I got a taste for really bringing groups together that had very different needs. Whitetail in Pennsylvania, like what they need from their ski school and their product development is so different than, say, Park City or even Whistler Blackcomb. And so it gave me this taste for how do you bring groups that believe they are so very different from each other together and show them how very similar they are. And when you can show them those things, it's amazing what they can do together. And so when this job came open, I said to myself, that seems like the type of thing that really gets me excited about the industry. I've been here for 26 years inside of Vail and thought, hey, this is kind of what I'm doing in one version or another. And this will be an even bigger way to have impact on the industry and really start to push what I see as a huge opportunity for professional snow sports instruction to have more influence in the industry and have a bigger impact on the decisions that the industry makes as a whole. So that's what really got me excited about it.
So, you've got a big year ahead. You've got Interski coming up in 3 years
Yep.
now. National Academy, not far off. But what's kind of your feel for what am I, speaking for you,
Mhm.
what are you going to bring to the membership of PSIA-AASI, that part-time instructor who maybe is up there getting minimum time, um, maybe not going for a certification? Why
Yeah.
does that person, what reason do they have to join PSIA-AASI? What can we do that can really enrich their experience as an instructor?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, George. Um, I think that we have this gigantic opportunity in front of us. And like this might sound a little bit esoteric or a little bit out there, but if you bear with me for a second, I'll maybe bring you along on where my thought process is. The national board and the national body of PSIA, we have what we call the ends. What are the outcomes that the national organization is looking to achieve, and how do they benefit the membership? And this is something that, as a member, I never heard anyone talk about. What are the outcomes that the national body or the regional associations are looking to achieve, and how can they benefit the members? And so when I was going through the process of applying for this job, we talked extensively about what are the outcomes that PSIA, AASI National are looking for. And I think that if the membership knew what those ends were, we could have a really candid conversation about how do we deliver on those ends. And I think that this is something that's been missing from our dialogue with our members, with our member schools, with our partners, whether they're vendors or suppliers, or even industry partners like NSAA or the National Ski Patrol. And so I don't know how many of our members have actually ever heard the ends. And I think if they did, they would maybe understand exactly why we do some of the things that we do and how we plan on getting there. So I'd love to share them with you. If you've never heard them, I'd love to share them.
I would love to hear them.
Yeah, okay, great. So the broadest end is that PSIA and AASI members receive innovative, inspirational, and accessible professional development to enhance their careers and leadership potential in the snow sports industry. And so that's the broadest end, right? We, as an association, for our membership, we want to be innovative, inspirational, accessible for their own personal development. We should be providing opportunities for our membership to develop professionally. This should then enhance their opportunity to have a snow sports instruction career, whatever that might look like. Right. And so when we think about how could we deliver on that, I think that there's a broad array there, because someone who perhaps is just starting their snow sports instruction career at, say, Beaver Creek, their needs, their desires, their wishes, their dreams of snow sports instruction might be very different than, say, someone who is a full-time lawyer and working at Sugarbush on the weekends in Vermont and has been a full-time lawyer for, say, 30 years, right? They're at very, very different places in their life journey, in their snow sports instruction journey. So how do we deliver on the needs of those two very different types of folks that are a part of our association? It can't be a one size fits all. It has to be nuanced. And I'm not sure that we have in the past engaged with our membership in a way that allows us to nuance the content that we deliver to them and the way that we deliver on their professional development in snow sports. Does that make sense?
Very much so.
Yeah.
It's
so,
and I brought the question up because my life has changed drastically. I mean, I was full-time in snow sports and absolutely loved what I was doing, but as I'm getting older, body parts hurt at the end of the season. And they
Sure.
hurt bad.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of a job transition right now that I'm really excited about, but it's limited my time on snow to, maybe 10 to 20 days rather than 100 days. And so I need just as much from the organization, though, now as I did when I was on snow full time.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that there's an opportunity for us as an association to really try to understand that at a deeper level. Some folks really want to make a career out of snow sports instruction. They want to do it every single day. They want to engage with the guests. They're driven by that interaction and that sense of community. Other folks are driven by monetary means and like, hey, I need to make a living and I want to be able to do this. And so how do I maximize my earning potential? And other folks would be driven, perhaps by like, hey, I love the community that's at the mountain. I'm not necessarily concerned about making money or driving to be at the next certification level, but I love being part of the community and I want the training to make me a better skier or snowboarder. And I think that we need to recognize that there's an entire spectrum of motivations out there for people to be a part of our association and a part of our industry. And we need to try to meet our membership where they're at and not always try to say, this is what we have to offer. I think that we have opportunity to be more flexible in the future. And I know that we have tons of programs across the country, and each region has a version of something different, and they're trying to do those things. And I also think that if we could say, hey, for everything that we do, every program that we create across every region, does it ladder up to our ends to be innovative, inspirational, accessible professional development? Like, we might make different decisions or better decisions for the membership. And so I think that for me, really trying to understand who the membership is, where we can meet them, what their needs are, and what we can actually deliver on is super important here in the next, 12 to 18 months.
I don't want to answer this question for you, but in conclusion, I just wanted you to share what your feelings were when you walked into the office that first time as a CEO. Did you look at it as, oh my gosh, this could be overwhelming, or wow, I have a real opportunity in front of me, and I think I know which way you're leaning there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All about the opportunity, completely about the opportunity. And it's overwhelming because there's so much going on. There are so many nuances, 34,000 members, 8 different regions, full-time, part-time, folks that have just started their snow sports career, people that have been doing it for 50 years. There's so much to consider. It can feel overwhelming, and I love it. Like, give me the chance to take on that challenge and see what we can do. I'm super excited about this opportunity.
Well, Jeff Lifgren, CEO, PSIA-AASI, thank you so much for joining us on First Chair, and I look forward to our monthly check-ins.
Yeah, awesome, George. Thanks for having me. And yeah, let's set a time so we can do this again real soon. I'm going to go to National Academy, and as soon as I'm done with that, I'd love to check back in.
From the PSIA-AASI Satellite Studios in Corvallis, Oregon, I'm George Thomas.